4, 3, 2, 1.
Liftoff and the clock has started.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good day to you. Welcome into this Monologue Monday episode of the All Around Show, wherever you may be watching and or listening around the globe, from Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, to Nordkapp, Norway, to Whitefish, Montana. Those are three really, let's say, out-of-the-way places. Welcome to the All Around Show, the metaphysical variety podcast where we just get into stuff. I'm your host, Schroeder, and I am grateful for a little bit of your valuable time. As you all know, a show's success depends on you. Please take a brief moment to do all the like, subscribe, and review things, as it helps us grow. If you find this useful or entertaining at all, if you find anything of value here, or if you get some humor, if it entertains you, then help the show grow by doing those things. All right, let's get into it, shall we? Monologue Monday. This Monologue Monday is maybe a little less monologue and a little more extemporaneous free flow with some ideas. I came across something that I wrote a number of years ago, and I just wanted to pass it along as we work our way through these tumultuous and turbulent times. We always think that our times, our tumultuous and turbulent times, are the worst in the history of the world, and boy, is that really rarely ever the case. Nevertheless, difficulty is difficulty, and you have to deal with it. You have to deal with it. You must, or you just bury yourself in a hole and refuse to acknowledge the fact that you're living. And speaking of life, if life seems to, if it seems to be more of a burden than a joy, then why do you continue engaging in the same behaviors? Why do you continue to act today as you did all the other crappy days? Do things differently. For example, just a little list. This is my list that I came up with off the top of my head in the few minutes that I had to do some writing one day. You may edit or add whatever you like. This is just a baseline of ideas, kind of rooted around service, because one of the major issues with the culture today is a complete lack of awareness of the world. And one of the things that is so very good for the soul is serving something greater than yourself. And we've been spending a lot of time doing a lot of self-examination, shall we say. Let's be polite and say self-examination, which is good to a certain extent. But at some point, enough is enough, and you have to go out and action some items, as it were. So the first thing that you and by the way, you'll note a theme of a hill that I will die on. Pick your battles, and this is one that I picked about 12 or 13 years ago, and I'll die on this hill, and I don't care what anyone says, because I'm right. So anyway, to go from burden to joy, you must, absolutely must, before you do anything, regardless of what positive step you're trying to take, put your phone down. If you don't do this, nothing else matters. Every single solitary thing being blasted into your consciousness from that insidiously destructive device is a crafted narrative designed to manipulate your thoughts and sell you crap you don't need. Put it away. Put it away. Every now and then, just put it down. Resist the urge to bend your elbow. Just get it out of your hand for a few seconds. Good Lord. Anyway, hold a door for someone. Hold a door open for someone. You ever met somebody that gets really mad about the concept of a door being held for them? I don't understand that. It's not a gender thing. It's just a politeness thing, and you can consider it an act of service. If someone is burdened with an armload of stuff, or if they got kids in tow and they're trying to do things, or if they're otherwise engaged, holding the door for someone can make their life just a little bit easier. But what's more important than that is you elevate them through your act of service to them. And guess where that goes? Out into the universe. Pay it forward. The whole little meme became 10, 12 years ago, whenever that was. Hold a door open for someone. It's really nice. Incidentally, A couple years ago, my wife and I were going into a fast food restaurant that I shall not name because I'm not being paid. It doesn't matter anyway. We were going into this establishment to grab something to eat, and a gaggle of children, somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 14 years old, was clearly a team of some sort, baseball, football. I don't even remember what time of year it was. Doesn't matter. They were all coming out, and I held the door for them. Again, this is not a gender or an age thing. Your elders or women or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Who cares? It's being polite and it's an act of service. So I held the door open for them because it was going to be easier for me to do that than to have 47 people pushing the door open. And besides, it's a nice thing to do. And one of the young men came out, looked up at me and said, "Hey, thanks, OG." And I rather got a kick out of that. I rather appreciated that. Like, you're welcome, young blood. That was pretty cool. Anyway, I hold the door open for someone. Here's one that I love because I am a devotee of good grammar and learning new words, new ways to express old ideas or new ideas. Learn a new word. Learn a new word one day. Doesn't have to be every day, but learn a new word every now and then. And here's another thing. Challenge yourself. Use it 5 times. So sprinkle it in throughout the day. In fact, when you go over and visit your neighbor, because this is a thing that we're doing now to help make ourselves feel better, is to connect with other people, slip that word into the conversation and see how it works out. Everybody's better for that. Everybody's better for that. That doesn't mean you have to go find some word like anti-disestablishmentarianism and find, whatever the maximum number of syllables and supercilious douchery factor that you can cram into a word. It doesn't have to be that. Just new to you. That's all. That's all we're trying here. Here's a good one. This goes back to the phone. When you are in public waiting around for something, and this is something that not many of us do very much anymore, although I like to try to do it for, things that used to be daily occurrences, going to the 7 different stores, going to the bank, going to the post office, all the things that we can do either digitally or from our own homes. Anyway, I encourage you to go do those things every now and then to remind yourself of the actual world that you live in. But anyway, when you're waiting around or standing in line at the grocery store, anything like that, where, the insipid boredom creeps in and you have that reflex urge to bend your elbow and put your phone in your face and fill that void with nonsense. Instead of doing that, resist the urge to stare at your phone and just be. Listen. Watch. You might be surprised at how much more interesting that is than anything going on in this idiot box. Give it a shot. It's going to hurt. Give it a shot. Do it once. If you can't handle it, if you get the shakes because you're not staring at your phone, then, move on. It's just a suggestion. Parents, this one's for you. Take the family bowling and do karaoke. Yeah. Does it sound awful or awkward? Awkward maybe, awful definitely not. You're going to have to get over that stuff. In the arc of history, have there been 2 things, bowling and karaoke, conceived more perfectly suited for public embarrassment? And that's kind of the point. Nothing creates a bond like you willingly looking ridiculous in front of your kids. And they may roll their eyes. They will roll their eyes, but they're going to remember that forever. And that's a bonding moment. How many of those do you have these days? How many hours of the day do your kids, when they do look up from their own devices that you crammed into their face, how often do they see your eyes versus the top of your head because you're staring at your own device? Teenagers, this is turning the tables. You have a job, right? God, I hope so. When I was a youngin', 276 years ago, it was unheard of to not have a job. The point of it being, you as a 15, 16-year-old, you were so desperate to get out of the house. And that age, if you're that age, or if you're near that age, or if you're much older, think back to that age and think about the liberty, the freedom of getting out of the house when you weren't trapped in those weird 6th and 7th grade years. Once you got to 8th, 9th, 10th grade and you could actually go do stuff on your own, sort of quasi on your own. But the work, going out, and usually you had a job where you were actually working with your friends. And it didn't even matter what you were doing, fast food or retail or lifeguarding or whatever it was. It was fantastic. Anyway, That was a tangent. Hopefully you have a job, teenagers. If you do, take a little bit of that money. And I know these days with the inflation that we're pretending, well, certain people are pretending that doesn't exist, it can get a little pricey, but take your parents out to, I don't know, I keep wanting to say brand names, but I'm not going to. I don't know, some fast food place. I don't recommend fast food, but every now and then it's okay. Take your parents out and sit there and don't be a jackass and don't stare at your phone and don't act like everything is the end of the world, and just ask your parents how their day was. You will absolutely melt their brains and you'll make them feel like they've done something right. And guess where that's going to come back? It's going to come back to you in a massively tenfold positive way. So give it a shot. Figure out something you're bad at. No one, it's an exceptionally rare kind of person that is excited about doing things they're bad at. And I really admire those people. But for the rest of us who are bad at a lot of things, figure out something that you're bad at. Find someone who's good at it and ask for their help. It is, do you authentically and genuinely ask people for help anymore? Strangers or family members, friends, anything like that? Ask them for help. People love to help. Love it. It is ingrained. It is coded in our DNA. I don't know why or how. I'm not a scientist, but I play one on TV. But the desire to help others is encoded in our DNA. It really is. People love to help despite what you've been told. And do this and get better at that thing that you're bad at. And then guess what? Magically, you're a better version of yourself. Pinpoint a personal bad habit and do it one less time. Just one. Biting your nails. I'm going to use that as an example because quitting drinking, smoking, or whatever else is a bit more complex. But we're talking about just a bad habit, just something that you could and should kick. Biting your nails. Let's use that as an example. Making a tisking sound every time you open your mouth to say something. I don't know. Cut that out. Anyway, pick a bad habit that you know that you can and should quit, and do it one less time every day. One less time every day, and then watch it become a self-engendering habit. And pretty soon you'll start to recognize how ridiculous it was when you were doing it, and you will enjoy the fact that you have slayed that particular dragon. Make fun of yourself. It's healthy to be humble. That's all. If you make a goofy mistake or trip over your tongue or trip over something on the earth, a tree root or something, or misspeak, whatever it is, whatever triviality is bugging you about the shield of invulnerability that you need to tear down, make fun of yourself. Be humble. Shrink your ego, and it will grow your soul. Practice situational awareness. This kind of goes back to the if you're bored standing in line thing, don't pick up your phone. Just watch and listen. Situational awareness. This also goes back to my diatribe about linear thinking. The people are not aware of anything more than 2 feet in front of their face. Be aware of your surroundings and your orientation within the surroundings. It's not enough to know what's going on and where things are, but it's incredibly important to know your relationship to the environment and the people and the places in that environment so that you may act and react properly in the environment. Situational awareness. I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but if you play with your phone while driving, if you text, if you're staring at TikTok or whatever stupidity that you have blowing nonsense in your face, or anything else with that stupid device while you're driving, that 2-ton death missile around other people's families, well, then you're a terrible excuse for a human. Stop it. Put it down. Tough love. You need to hear it. It's not okay. It's not okay. I don't know how it became okay, because nobody will say that it's not ridiculous, because they don't want to stop doing it themselves. And finally and simply, The most important thing that you can do for yourself is to surround yourself with those who elevate you. Surround yourself with people who really make you want to be a better person. That's the surest way to be better. It's really it's really that easy. The concept is that simple, but you're going to have to work to find these people. They're everywhere, but you may have to break out of whatever this friend circle that you have is, and look to other places, wherever that may be. Figure out what you value. Maybe you should figure out values first, but figure out your values, figure out what you value, and then find the people who encourage you to be better at those things. There are a million little graces each of us can supply to the demand of decency. It doesn't take much to make your little slice of the world, your little slice of life, a little more positive. When you start small within your own walls, that's the thing. If you focus on this thing, if you look at what the news and social media tell you, you will have a wildly inaccurate take of the real world. But when you start small within your own walls, it spreads to the neighborhood and beyond more quickly than you can imagine. All right, that's it for this time on the All Around Show. I hope you got something useful out of it. I welcome, as always, civil discourse. So if you have something meaningful and or lucid to add, please leave it in the comments section. Thank you for your time. And as always, be mindful, be fit, be authentic. And whatever better than yesterday is for you, spend a little time working on being that. Peace out, homies. See you next time.